So the things you absolutely need to perfect before you jump into volume lashing, and you should have these down packed before you start moving yourself into that lane. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariel, if you didn't know. So today's video is going to be all about volume lashing, but it's going to be all about when is actually the right time for you to kind of move your way into volume lashing. So let's just get right into it. I have made a few notes. I made a list of things I want to talk about in this video today. So I'm going to go right ahead and start. So the first thing that I want to talk about is basically the difference between the different types of lashing. This is just something super quick I'm going to kind of run through just so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. The different ones you have are your classic, your hybrid, your volume, and your mega volume. So your classics are your original kind of certification, your basics, your most natural set. It's like literally your fundamentals, right? The classics are 1-to-1. So that would be one natural lash to one extension. You never have more lashes than you currently have. They're just longer, thicker, fuller. Then you have your volume lashes. So your volume lashes are where literally the volume comes from, the full fluffy look comes from. That's when you have multiple lashes to one natural lash, and that's when you create your fans and you go ahead and you apply them and create like this full fluffy dense look, right? Then you have your hybrids. So your hybrids are literally 50-50 generally speaking. It is a mix of classic lashes and a mix of volume fans. So you have 50% classics, 50% volume fans, and then obviously like when it comes to what your client wants, you can kind of play it up, play it down. You want to put more volumes, more classics, up to you. Then you have your mega volumes. So mega volumes are those big, loud, super dramatic, super fluffy, super dark lashes that are definitely for those clients that want that show-stopping, out of this world, full dramatic look. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is why classic lashes specifically are just so important. So like I said, classic lashing is literally the basics. It's the base of your lashing skills. It is the fundamentals. It is literally everything that teaches you how to actually lash properly. It is why I personally do my training as like separate, like I do my classic training and then I do my volume training, because I really emphasize the importance of classic lashing, because I know for myself the reason I'm so happy with the way my sets look like today is because I spent so much time on my classic sets, and it's because obviously at that time I just didn't know about volume lashing, so it kind of forced me to stay on my classic sets longer. But I am super thankful for it because it definitely forced me to kind of hone in on those skills, hone in on the things that definitely kind of go with classic lashing that made me into a better volume lash artist. So another point I want to make, piggybacking off of that, is literally classic lashes are what actually make you a great lash artist. People think that they want to see those big, fluffy, full sets, and yes, that's super true, and yes, you do make more money from you doing dramatic sets, but if you're jumping straight from getting certified into volume lashing or hybrid lashing, you are not getting the opportunity to learn how to do lashes properly. The thing about volume lashes and hybrid lashes is that it is very, very easy to mask any issues. It's very easy to kind of cover up all the wrong that's being done on that lash line to those natural lashes with all those fans and those dark, dense lash lines. That's the thing about classic lashing, where it literally forces you to see all your mistakes, whether or not you're placing it right, the direction's off, if you're putting too much glue, if you're isolating completely wrong, if you're kind of attaching two lashes to one. All those things show in classic lashing, and that's actually why people get so turned off and so frustrated with classic lashing, and they jump to volume or hybrid and they think it's great, but it's really and truly because it's easier to hide those things with your volume lashing and your hybrid lashing than it is with classic lashing. And those issues, those hurdles, those little bumps that you have to overcome are the reason why you become such a great lash artist in the first place. Those things are meant to be there because you are absolutely meant to kind of get rid of all those problems, and you're supposed to be able to place the lash perfectly. You're supposed to isolate perfectly. And I emphasize that heavily when I'm talking about classic lashing, because that means when you move on to your volume lashing, you're able to focus on the things that matter with volume lashing, such as making the fans. It may sound simple, but making fans on its own is super, super hard and something that you absolutely need to practice at. And if you're going into your volume lashing and you're going into your hybrids and you're making fans, but then you made your fan and now you're also still trying to figure out how to isolate, how to place, there's so many things that can easily frustrate you and easily make you want to give up and you feel defeated because you're not actually at that point where you're able to kind of glide into volume lashing smoothly because you kind of mastered those skills in classics. Does that make sense? I feel like that makes sense. It's the way I look at it. So that's why I seriously focus on classic lashing, because you definitely want to focus on what matters first before you jump into volume lashing. Okay, so now when is it the right time to actually move forward into volume lashing? So once your classic lashing is at a point where you feel like you are no longer challenged, you feel like you need to do something new, you feel like you're ready to take on that new challenge of volume lashing, then yes, you are absolutely ready to jump into volume lashing or start easing yourself into hybrids, all that good stuff. Fan making, it's your time. Once you know or you feel super confident in your work, if you feel like it's time, if you feel like, hey, my classic sets are looking fire, now it's time for you to kind of take that leap and look into something new, start challenging yourself in a different way and kind of expand your portfolio. And my final one on this is if you feel like you are ready to start the practice all over again, it is time. Learning classics is definitely frustrating, and I promise you, jumping into volume and hybrid can easily be as frustrating. So if you kind of phase yourself out of the frustrating period with classic lashes, then it's time for you to get that frustration all over again with hybrid lashes, because that's what's gonna make you great. That's what's gonna take you to the next level. That's what's gonna set you apart from other lash artists out there. So the things you absolutely need to perfect before you jump into volume lashing, and you should have these down packed before you start moving yourself into that lane, is you definitely want to make sure that you're able to actually pick up the lash properly. And I'm talking a single classic lash with your tweezers. It should be a breeze. It should be easy peasy. And I know this sounds weird, but I have done a lot of training and I see how hard that one little thing can be, and I understand. And it's about knowing your tweezers and knowing where your sweet spot is and knowing how to pick up the lash without kinking it. This is something that you definitely want to know before you move into volume lashing, because if you think it's hard to pick up a classic lash, it is so much harder to pick up a volume lash, especially when you're trying to fan it. The next thing is 110% isolation. If you think isolation is hard with classics, this is what is super easy to mask with volume lashing, because the fans kind of take over that natural lash, but that is where the damage lies. This is exactly where you can easily break your client's lashes, ruin the health of their entire lash line, and once they start to grow, when they come back in for a fill, that's when you'll see the damage. Especially when they start to brush the lashes, they're all growing at different speeds, and they're not separated properly, you will be able to see it, and chances are your client will be able to see it when you come back, or when they come back for that fill, or when they start to grow out and they start to hurt, all that kind of stuff. Next thing you definitely want to have a good kind of well-rounded knowledge of is product knowledge. You want to be able to know your lashes, know your weights, know your lengths, know your tweezers. Like, I'm not saying you have to 100% kind of like master everything, but at least for your classics, definitely know your products, know what you're using. So it's definitely helpful to know a bit more about your products before you move into volume lashing. Then you definitely want to make sure that you know about your placement and direction. You want to be able to know that when you put a classic lash on, and if you want it to face a certain way, it is easy for you to apply that lash and face it that way. Because when you go into volume lashing, you have to do a little bit more corrective measures sometimes when lashes have gaps, lashes are going the wrong way, and because the actual fan is heavier, it might be a little bit harder to manipulate the lash to go the way you want it to without damaging the natural lash. So it's really, really important that you know the skill of placing your lashes and kind of manipulating the direction with the classics. So when you move on, you're able to actually do this properly and safely. And the last one is definitely knowing a little bit about styling. Again, this isn't something that you have to master, but if you're able to kind of get the styling methods down packed, like I'm talking general styling. I'm not talking about crazy wispy sets. I am talking about your simple cat eye, your simple doll eye, your simple natural eye. Just kind of get an idea of styling so that way you're not using one length all the way around, you definitely want to have a little bit of insight so that way when you jump into your volume lashing, you're able to provide a little bit more for your clients, because I feel like the expectation once you start offering volume lashing and hybrid lashing is a little bit higher from your clients, and sometimes they may ask you things and you're just not 100% aware. But if you're able to kind of start with classic lashing and kind of get your basics down packed, you're able to kind of move on and start experimenting and knowing a little bit more about volume styles, hybrid styles, those wispy looks. A lot of them are sometimes really hard to achieve, and once you get your basics down, you can at least offer your clients those generic basic sets that they definitely will still love. Even if they wanted a wispy set, you can achieve it regardless. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I hope that it was helpful. I hope I didn't talk extremely fast. I feel like I did, but I am so sorry if I did. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back with something new next time. Bye.